Welcome to the Inspire and Learn series. We are TMG Yachts, a multi-award winning dealership in Australia specialising in multi-hulls, power and sail. Join us as our expert team teach you all about anchoring, docking, rigging, sail trim, maintenance and so much more, so you can build confidence in your boat handling ability.
In this episode, we'll walk you through how to park your catamaran in a tight berth with a crosswind. Enjoy!
Docking a boat in any situation can be a daunting task for the most experienced of us. Today, we're going to have a look at docking a catamaran in a pen in a marina with a crosswind. My name is Joe Fox from the team at TMG Yachts, and welcome back to another Inspire and Learn episode on board this beautiful Lagoon 46. Today, as well as Marnie behind the camera, I've got Russell helping me on the lines. This is a large boat, so we do need someone on the lines. It's not a one-man project for this episode. So follow along as we talk through the steps for approaching the berth. You can see the berth just behind me there. We're going to look at the approach, the wind, how you maneuver the vessel to get it alongside safely. We have covered maneuvering in a couple of the earlier Inspire and Learn episodes, so do make sure you go back and watch them. They're on a Lagoon 42, slightly different situation. A little reminder for those that this is their first Inspire and Learn video or haven't seen our other ones. I've got twin sticks here on the throttle. I like to lock the wheel off and delete the rudders from the equation because that just confuses things. So I've locked that off with the nut here in the middle, and I'm just using the throttles. If I push the port one forward, much like a skid steer or an excavator, the bow goes to starboard. If I push the starboard one forward, the bow goes to port. If I do both but different forwards and reverse, the boat spins on the spot. We don't move forwards and we don't move aft. Best way to think of this is put your thumbs here. If I push the port one forward, the bow is going to go that way. If I pull the port one back, the stern is going to go that way or to starboard. So when you hold your hands above the throttles like this, it's really quite simple to see what's going to happen when you engage each throttle in each direction. So talking through the vessel and how that's set up and the approach to the berth. The berth is pointing south, okay? And we have a easterly wind going pretty much at 90 degrees to the berth. It's about 8 to 10 knots. It's quite light at the moment, but the 46 does have a lot of windage. It's a large cruising catamaran. So it's going to definitely be something we have to factor into the maneuver getting into that berth. The vessel itself is set up. You can probably see this from the drone. We've got four fenders down the starboard side, and I've just put 2 on the port side. Now this is because when we get into the berth, the wind is going to push us to starboard, and I'm expecting to end up resting starboard side 2 on the, I guess the right hand side of the pen, if you're looking at the pen from the marina. So that's how we've got the boat set up. In addition to the fenders and the wind direction and all the rest of that, I do have lines set up on my starboard side. I have a stern line ready to go. I have a bow line ready to go. And just in case things get a bit hairy in there or the wind changes direction, I do have a stern line and a bow line on port as well, but I don't really expect to need them for this maneuver. So, organising your approach to the berth is the most important thing when you're docking in a crosswind. You've got to understand that a catamaran is most in control at low speed when it is reversing into the wind with the bows downwind, and you can hang the vessel off the propellers. So on the approach to the berth, you want to be going reversing into the wind from downwind. So we're actually going to be at 90 degrees to the berth at that point. And then as we come up to the berth, we're going to kick it round and we're going to be pushing the bows up into the wind. As we push the bows into the wind, as long as we've got enough turning momentum, then we should be able to turn 90 degrees and get into the berth. If we were to do it the other way, we'd have the bows into the wind. The bows into the wind are a lot less secure, and as soon as you turn the boat 90 degrees to back into the berth, the bows are going to be going downwind, blown by the wind. And on this vessel, we don't have a bow thruster. Not a lot of boats this size have a bow thruster. So once those bows start going downwind with the wind through the turn, then it's going to be very hard to correct. So you're going to end up going faster than you want to, and it might get a bit out of control. So we approach from downwind in reverse at all times. Now that we've talked about the approach of the vessel, we need to talk about crew communication. So The visibility on the Lagoon 46, I can't see the transoms from here. I do have Raymarine cameras integrated into the plotter. So if I was down a crew member, I would be able to see the transoms on the navigation screen. But not all catamarans have that feature, so I'm going to ignore that for now. And I'm going to focus on crew work. So on my approach, or just before my approach, I'm going to ask my crew member Russell to go on the starboard aft quarter so that he has full visibility of both transoms, but he can still see me. It's very important that we can still communicate despite the fact he can see what I can't. So he needs to be in a prime position. If I put myself there, it's probably about here, a couple of steps down the back. You can see both transoms and the helm position. So Russ, if you could just come down and stand in that position and just confirm when you get there that you can see both the transoms. Perfect. Now, as well as being my line handler, Russell is also my eyes and ears for my approach to the dock. So if I'm too close to the dock on my starboard side and I'm going to run into it, Russell needs to tell me to go up or upwind, into the wind, away from the dock. If I'm too far away, he needs to tell me to come downwind towards the dock on the starboard side. So the best way to do that is finger movements. So come up with your own signaling system before you do maneuvers like this, so you both understand what's going on. As we move into the dock, Russell is going to need to let me know how far away I am at the back. So I'm going to ask for a countdown from 3 meters down to 1 meter. I'm going to stop when the boat is 1 meter off the dock at the back. So you got that, Russ? 3, 2, 1. Yeah. And the last thing Russ needs to do for me is get that stern line on. Again, docking a catamaran, we've talked about it in other videos, but generally the first line you get on is the stern line. This gives you all the control and you can settle the boat in the berth before you put the other lines on. Now, as on any boat, as a skipper, it's very important that you look after the crew and the safety of the crew. When docking in a scenario like this, it's very important that the crew are taking your command. The crew do not step off the boat until you say it's okay to do so. The reason being is you don't want them jumping 1.5 meters or 2 meters onto the dock and rolling an ankle. You want to get the boat nice and close so they can step off. I always say if a crew member has to jump off the boat's not close enough to the dock, and the skipper needs to sort the boat out to make it safe for the crew to disembark. This also means that the skipper is in control of the throttles and the propellers. The skipper can make sure that the propellers are not engaged so that if someone does go in the water, they only get wet. So now the vessel is fully prepped, we've got lines, fenders, the crew has been briefed, the crew knows what they're doing. Before I start my final approach, it's very important that you do one last check at the local weather. And when I say local weather, it's not what Sydney is doing today, it's what is happening right around you in this location. So confirm that the wind is still coming in from the port side. Confirm that the tide hasn't started running. If you came in at slack tide and then the tide picked up, it might have started running since you arrived and were sorting out fenders. So confirm those things so that you know what you're dealing with when you get close to things that you can hit. Okay, we are in position. I'm in a nice position now. I'm almost perpendicular to the dock. I've got the berth just behind me there. I'm stern to the wind, so I'm holding position quite nicely here. And if I need to pause for a minute, I can just hang off the engines. In order to start the final approach, I need to start getting the boat to move backwards. And I'm going to do this by putting both engines in reverse. And as I come up, you'll see I'm starting to move backwards now. I've got about 1 knot of boat speed. I'm going to go a little bit faster. And as the back of the boat gets to in line with the dock where I want to park on, I'm going to leave one engine in reverse and I'm going to put the starboard engine into forwards. Now the bows are being pushed up really nicely into the wind. I've got heaps of control. I'm going to pull off the speed on the other engine short for a minute and then burst of forwards on starboard to turn me into the dock. I'm turning in now, and as I line up, I'm going to go really hard astern on starboard, and as soon as I've got an overhang on the starboard side, I'm going to slow the boat right down. Put the engines in gear, slow it right down, and there we go. My starboard aft corner is resting on the dock. Resting on the dock like that, I now have control of the bows. If I put my starboard engine just in forwards and my port engine in reverse, I can hold the bows into the wind really nicely. So I can, if I'm not quite straight with the berth at this point, I think I'm a little bit to windward now because I overdid it slightly. But if the bows go downwind slightly, I can pull them up by going starboard forward, port reverse, and that'll just rotate on that aft corner. I know I've got a couple of good fenders in there, so I know I'm not touching the dock. Once I'm straight, I'll just straighten up a little bit now. Once I'm straight, I can then roll backwards on the fenders. Now Russ is telling me I've got 5 meters, 4 meters at the back, so I've still got plenty of room. So I'm coming back nice and slowly, in and out of gear, feathering the throttles. Do not leave it in gear, ever. 2 meters, and that's the 1 meter there. So I'll bring the boat to a stop, and Russ wants the stern of the boat brought in so he can get off. So I'm going to put starboard in forwards, port and reverse, and rotate the vessel. Okay, Russ, go for it. So I'm stopped. I know the stern is close enough. Russell's given me the okay that it looks good, and he steps off with my permission. Now Russell's briefing here is to tie a line as tight as he can get it. Once he's made that off, I can put my starboard engine into forwards, and this drives us forward a bit. As soon as that stern line goes tight, the boat hugs this dock really nicely, and we're fully in control. I can stay here as long as I want, as I've said in other videos, but it's better to get a line on, get the bow lines on and the springs on to secure the vessel in the berth, and then you put your engines in neutral and you're all set. That gives an overview of backing into a berth in a crosswind. It is a daunting experience for a lot of skippers, but it's really important that you do it slowly and safely. Think about your surroundings, think about how the boat's affected. As an example, if I had not considered the wind like I did and just started reversing from 100 meters straight out in front of the berth, I would have gone sideways quite quickly, and the bows in reverse with a crosswind do go downwind quite quickly. So I'd have ended up probably on the wrong angle down in front of this cat next to me, which would not have been the result we wanted. So it's a case of starting downwind, backing into the wind, turning, rotating the boat, rotating the bows up into the wind, and then moving backwards into the berth as we did there. Nice work, Russell. Thank you very much. So that just about covers it. Now we did end up parking starboard side too, which I did mention earlier. That's because the wind was blowing us that way. If the wind had been from the west as opposed to the east that we had today, then we would have ended up port side too, and the maneuver would have been the mirror image of what we did. So we would have come from the eastern side and rotated our bows to starboard up into the wind, come into the berth and fallen down onto the dock port side too. So depending on the wind direction, you just have to adjust your angle of approach, so to speak. So we are safely in the berth now. The berth itself is about 10 meters wide. The boat is just under 8. So we did have a meter either side as we were coming in. Not a huge amount of room coming into this berth, but with the right approach, factoring in the right things and having the right lines on and the right awareness of what's going on around you. It is quite simple in a way once you've had a bit of practice and once you've watched this video for getting it into a pen in a cross breeze. So thank you for watching this latest video for our Inspire and Learn series. My name is Joe Fox from the team at TMG Yachts. We do hope you enjoyed it. Do like and subscribe if you did enjoy this video to be updated with regular content on all things boating from TMG Yachts.
And me.
I'd like to extend my heartiest thanks to Russell Ayers, as we call him.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.